What's up, y'all? Welcome back. As y'all can see from the title below, y'all know this is gonna be a type of spooky little video. Okay, we're gonna get right into it. Before we do, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, and make sure you are subscribed. All of those things help, including sharing. Okay, let's get into this first story. So the first story starts off saying, "Hey T, I love your videos. This story happened back when I was 9 years old. My cousin and her kids lived with us shortly after they moved in. Me and my sister and mom would hear stuff, and we noticed certain things, but we never thought anything of it because my mom was a Christian and we were raised in the church. So when we noticed something wrong or we got scared, we were taught to pray. This particular day, me and my sister got out of an after-school program and we walked to my aunt's house. On the phone praying for my big cousin. My big cousin lived a certain lifestyle where she was on drugs. She lived a certain way, and I would always hear family members calling her the devil. And she had spirits on her, which I believed. She was praying away all the evil spirits. You know how saints be, praying hard for a long time. And my big cousin's eyes started to go to the back of her head. Everything in our living room was shaking like off of a movie. I was stuck. I was just staring at her. I was scared, but I was shocked. I've heard about spirits and I've heard weird noises, but I never seen anything like this close up. She started making weird noises. Slob was coming out of her mouth. She looked possessed. The face she made still haunts me. My mom rushed me and my little sister out of the house. She opened all of the windows as we exit. You could see green spirits coming out of the windows as they were screaming. I swear, this was some crazy-ish. We went to the neighbor's house shortly after, and the pastor came over, and he cleansed the whole house, praying with a big bottle of blessed oil. We were so scared. We asked our mom if we could leave, which we did after that. That's when I knew for a fact that spirits and the devil are real people living with real demons attached to them. The cousin and her kids moved out of town. That's pretty much the end of the story, a story that I'll never forget." That is crazy, and it might sound crazy to some, but some people have the ability to see what others can't. So even if you did see green spirits coming out, nobody else did, like maybe that's not your sister's story or your mom's story. Maybe they didn't see it. But for all the skeptics out there, because I know people are gonna be like, this is fake, green spirits, people can see certain things like that. I believe you. I told y'all in another video, I am no skeptic and I believe everything. Now, let's get into this next story. It says, "Hi T, I love your videos and I've been enjoying your scary story times, and I knew I had to add my story. You can just call me Tay. It's a little long, so buckle up. My life has been full of dealing with paranormal. From hearing footsteps and voices in the house I grew up in, to hearing whispers and seeing shadows in my grandma's house, having apple juice bottles picked up and thrown at my sister, the list can go on. But the story I have for you today is about a house I lived in that I call the Demon House." Now, let me give you a little backstory so everything can make sense. It was the summer of 2016, July to be specific, when we found the house. I was 14 and my little sister was 12, and my older brother was 17. The house was in a small town and it was at the edge of town. Side note, when I was finally moving away from the house in 2019, one of my friends who lived in the town told me he lived in a haunted house because when he was home alone, he had a shoe thrown at him down the stairs. He said he hightailed it out of there, so I think it could have been the whole area. I don't know. When we went to go take a look at the house, we being my sister, mom, and dad, it already stood out from the rest. It had a very steep driveway and a massive tree in the front yard that looked like it was dying. It was a 2-story house. When we first walked through the house, it seemed okay. I hadn't sensed anything off when I walked upstairs, but when we went downstairs to the basement, I don't know why, but I immediately wanted to get out. I just pushed it off as basements are creepy. We moved in 2 weeks after, including my brother, so the 5 of us. That's when it began. It started off with small things, lights flickering and dimming at strange times. We didn't have furniture in the house yet except for the TV, but we needed something to do. So at night, me and my siblings would sleep downstairs in the living room while our parents were at work. This night, my brother and sister were asleep, and I was still up. I couldn't sleep at night. The living room is right next to the front door, and we had a porch light on. I turned my head to the door because the light started to flicker. It was flickering lightly at first, so I just left it alone, and I went back to watching TV. I guess it didn't like that, because not even a full minute later, the porch light turned off entirely. The wind outside started blowing real hard, and I knew this because the bushes outside of the window were hitting the window now. I'm just here thinking, like, what in the world? Then, just as quickly as it happened, it stopped. The porch light turned back on and the wind stopped. I just sat there shocked. I picked up my phone to check what time it was. It said it was 3 in the morning. I said to myself, well, that's past my bedtime, and took myself to sleep. Fast forward and we have furniture now. Finally, I can sleep in my bed. My brother's room was downstairs, but me and my sister's room were upstairs, connected by the bathroom. We were both scared of sleeping in a new place, so we left our doors open to connect our rooms, and we left the bathroom light on. I'm getting sleepy after a night of scrolling through Tumblr, so I started to get comfortable in my bed, and all of a sudden, I feel a hand sweep down my face, all the way up my body and down my leg. Girl, I jumped up. I'm looking all around my room, and I can see clearly because the bathroom light is on and no one is there. I turn my bedroom light on and do the only thing I can think of. I call my dad. He answers the phone all annoyed, and I'm scared. I'm telling him what happened, and he's like, okay, we have to pray. We pray, and I'm thinking he's gonna come home now. Nope. He says good night, get some sleep, and hangs up. I'm like, what? Staring at my phone in disbelief. He really left me to deal with this alone? So my heart is still pounding out of my chest. I get the Bible and I read, because how can I go to sleep after something like that? After that, it got worse. Months would go by and I would hear scratching on my door, but I would think that it was just my brother messing with me at night. That's something he would do, playing around with us as the older brothers would. I would hear the floor creak under his weight, so it had to be him, right? Wrong. One night I was laying down peacefully, sleep in my bed. I hear the floor creak and scratches at my door. I ignore them as usual, then I start to feel pressure on my chest. The longer I feel it, the harder it presses and it gets hard to breathe. I can literally feel the evil around me, and in my mind, I'm screaming for my mom to come help me, but I can't get it out. So there I am, suffocating in my own bed. I can actually feel myself starting to fade from the lack of oxygen, thinking I'm about to die. Then, as a last effort to survive, I think of one word, one name, Jesus. The pressure is instantly gone and I can move again. I can breathe again. And you know what I did after that? Yep, I turned on that light and I started reading the Bible. That happened 2 more times. After the 3rd time, I got sick of being bullied up out of my sleep. After a talk with my sister and my cousin who had experiences of his own, I went home to my room, cracked open the Bible, and took some note cards and wrote scriptures all over my room. On the doorway, on the window, one on my closet. I went to work up in there, praying and anointing my room with oil. I said, you cannot get in here, demon. I put some in my sister's room, my brother's room, and in my parents' room. After that, it seemed to have left me alone, but then it moved to mess with my sister's room. But that's a story for another day. Let me know if you want to hear that story. Sorry for it being long. I hope you have a blessed one. Keep spreading light into the world. Sincerely, Tay. Thank you for that story. That is crazy. It was definitely something up in that house. It definitely was. And I'm mad it went on to scurry to your sister's room, because she don't deserve that. I hope it's up out of there by now. Or at least you up out of there. I think you said you moved out. Let's get into this next story. Hey T, I just wanted to say I love you so much. I always enjoy your videos and I hope you take the time out to read the story I'm sending you. It might be long because it's a lot to discuss, just to get the key points across. In 2013, my dad passed away, 2 weeks before my 17th birthday. The night before the funeral, I had a dream about the funeral. Me and my sisters went up to his casket and he rose up. He told us that he was going to miss us and he's sorry. He told us not to cry. He told us, now go to your new dad. And that threw me off, but what made it more confusing was that he pointed to my mom's ex-boyfriend. She wasn't with him at the time of his death. Well, fast forward to the day of his funeral. I told my mom that I knew her ex is going to be here, and she said how. I told her about my dream and she brushed me off per usual. Now fast forward to 2015. I'm now pregnant with my son. During that pregnancy, I had a dream about my dad's funeral. He was always rising up during the service, and he would say, I'm not dead, I was just asleep. That happened up until I gave birth to my son. A few months after that, I had a dream about my dad. And he was an all white, clean, bald head, and he was holding a baby. We were talking, and at the end of the conversation, he said, lay back down, I have to go, I will see you later. The next thing you know, my head hits the pillow and I sit up so fast. I feel like my dad was literally in the room talking to me. Now, fast forward to 2021, I went to see a medium and she told me my dad was attached to my son, a little baby, maybe 5 or 6, and he was 5 at the time. I was confused because I felt like my son would have said something. Well, after that, my son would keep looking at my dad's senior pictures and he would ask about him. Then he would randomly cry and say he missed him. And I'm like, how can you miss someone you never met? After that, I went to pick up my son from school one day and we were listening to music. I was about to pick up his siblings from daycare. I have 4 kids, by the way. When he just blurts out, "Mommy, I talk to your daddy every night." And I was so confused. I asked him, "Are you talking about my real dad or Granny's husband?" He knows the difference between them. And he said, "No, Mommy, I talk to your daddy. He has no hair, Mommy, and he wears white." Mind y'all, my son only seen his high school senior picture when he had hair. When my dad died, he was bald. Anyway, he told me he talks to him all the time and said he always told him to pay attention, something he said a lot. And he told him to always run fast. My dad did track. I had to pull over and cry because I was really shook. Well, a few months ago, my son told me that Granddaddy told him to tell me that he was proud of me. And he told me that for 3 days. I told him I said thank you and I love him. Now my son doesn't see him anymore, and I know that because he cried to me after saying he couldn't see Granddaddy anymore. His feelings were hurt. It hurt his feelings, but I had to let him know that Granddaddy just needed him to deliver a message and that he loves him and he's always watching. I'm sorry this was so long. I really tried to make it short. Thank you for reading this. 100% believable. Sometimes it's easier to get messages through to children because they're more receptive than adults, because adults, they don't believe, a lot of them don't believe in spirits, ghosts, or anything outside of the norm, so sometimes it's easier that way. And then a lot of times adults brush kids off like, "Oh, you know what you're talking about, you're just making things up. What a big imagination." I'm not that parent. Okay, I'm gonna believe every single word you tell me. Okay, all right, now let's get into this last story. She said, "Let's get into it. I have 3 different events. The first event happened last year around the time you started posting your paranormal videos, and I left you a comment and said I would send one in. It was one late night when I was in the city, Manhattan, coming from a Sexy Hills dance class. It was 9:30 p.m. and pitch black outside, with only the street lights on Main Street. I parked on a side block, so you have to have protection in hand. If you know, you know. There were a few sketchy people, drug users, and homeless people lingering, some loud and some quiet, so I wouldn't really notice them until I'm right in front of them. Imagine walking down the block and people sitting on steps or in between houses. You wouldn't see them unless you were right in front of them or if they popped out. So I'm walking with the quickness looking for my car. I thought I was at my car, but it was an elderly man with a plaid button-up shirt. He had gray hair and he was sitting in the driver's seat. So I was like, oops, my bad, and kept walking. I realized I didn't park that far down. I was almost at the end of the block. So I started to walk back and thought, no, did I pass my car? This has happened before. It's super late and dark on this block. I see my car and the man is in my car. I'm thinking to myself, did I leave my car unlocked? So now I'm running up to the car, cursing this guy out. Once I get to the car, the guy disappears. I'm like, wait, hold on. I step back and I look around. Am I bugging? I'm confused because there was really a man just sitting in my car and I was so shocked. I couldn't drive. I sat there for a minute. Then I called my spiritual sister and she said, what if it was your stepdad? He had just passed away a few months ago. He was the one who bought my car. Once I got it together, I pulled off. So this is like a 3-in-1 type of story. This is the second story. I had a dream about a car accident, but I didn't think anything of it. I was in elementary school at the time, and I was always having dreams. So my dreams continued over the years until my early 20s and stopped. I had 2 continuing dreams for years until college. I would go to places and have deja vu because I was once there in my dreams. Anyway, the dream felt really real. I was in a car accident myself. I even felt myself spinning and flying out the window, hitting my head and laying in the grass. I woke up out of breath and scared. I go to school like normal. I go to my after-school program, then home. As I'm walking up the pathway to my building, I see my neighbors that went to South Carolina for a funeral. They're walking in a straight line, one behind the other into the building. They look so sad, so I didn't say anything. When I got home, my mom told me that one of the sisters had died, and I didn't believe her because I just saw her walking into the building. She had on black pants, a gray shirt, and a scarf half tied around her head, leaving the rest of her hair out in the back. My mom was crying, but I was so confused because I just saw her. When I went to visit the family in their apartment, everyone looked beat up. The youngest sister, who I was closest to, we are 3 years apart. She had a scrape on the side of her face, showing the white meat, and bandages. Her mother's arm was in a cast because it was broken. The brother was walking with a cane, and he had to have surgery and stitches in the back. The middle sister wasn't hurt as bad because I don't remember her injury. The older sister is who I was looking for, but they kept saying she was gone. I told them I saw her walking to the building with them that one day. Then everybody looked at me crazy and shocked. They told me that's what she had on when she died. They asked me how did I even know. Everyone stayed quiet and just looked at me. I asked them how did she die. When I saw her, she looked fine. That's when they said
that the older sister
just flew out the window and she died on impact. Just like in my dream. When I saw her body at the funeral, she was fine, no marks or anything. So in my dream, I was basically watching the car accident in her eyes. Okay, this is the last story. So I moved from Brooklyn to Long Island. So now I have to take the highway home. So now I'm driving home on the highway and a gray car speeds past me so fast. I felt it and it was like a flash. That car was really moving. It gave me a premonition, like that's so Raven. If you know, you know. So I'm still driving, but I slow down while having the premonition. I see the gray car change lanes, hit someone, spin, and flip over. I was hoping that didn't really happen and I said a little prayer. I actually thought that the car was gonna have an accident right in front of me because there was a day, which is another story, but I was with my mom and we literally saw 5 accidents back to back. Each car that sped past us crashed in front of us like half a mile away. It was so crazy, but that wasn't the case. Nothing happened. So the next day my friend was coming to see me from Brooklyn. She was on the highway and she said that there was a big accident and a car was flipped over. She then showed me a picture of the person and I made a face. She was like, why are you looking like that? You look like you just seen a ghost. I told her I saw this accident in a vision yesterday. And my spiritual sister said, you mean to tell me like a premonition? And I said, yes. It was crazy because it was the same car that drove past me. I know from the license plate. Let me just add me a little story in since we talking like premonitions. I used to drive a certain way to work when I used to work on the north side. And every time I drove on this highway, I had so much anxiety. I don't know why. I just felt like somebody was gonna pop out their car and you know it was gonna hit me or something like that. I just felt like too much. I was scared to drive. I was really scared to drive and I was really scared of red trucks. Tell me why, like almost close to a month later, there is a shootout on that same highway, hitting a mother and unaliving a child. The craziest part was after it happened and I drove that same way to work, I no longer had anxiety. Like it just went away. I wasn't scared of certain kind of trucks no more. It just really went away. And I always thought that was weird. I really thought to myself, was that a premonition? But it was such a vague one because I didn't know what was going to happen. I just had a fear of certain things and feeling like I was gonna be unalived. Y'all, spirit gonna give you a sign, okay? It's gonna come to you. I don't know, like obviously there's nothing that I could have done to prevent it. I don't know why I was specifically having that feeling because it didn't have anything to do with me. And I feel so bad to that family that it happened to because it was terrible. It was everywhere. I remember it. But yeah, y'all, I didn't mean to try to leave the video on a sad note. That's pretty much it for this video. Y'all already know the vibes. Please make sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I will see y'all in my next video. Bye. First of all, thank you so much for your support. I see you say you watch my videos multiple times. I really appreciate that. After that, it got worse. Let me clear my little throat. This is a long one. Y'all youngins, ain't ya? Not youngins. I would hear the floor. I would hear the floor creak. Then it moved to mess with my sister's room. What? Sister's room? That was a lot. Oh, my eyes. Anywho, this dream felt really real. Real. The gray car speeds so past me. No, the fuck?